Living in safety and freedom, exploring your identity, or reconnecting with family history. What does German citizenship mean for people with different backgrounds today?
It's part of living in Germany. I can have a say.
Although it was about the passport, it was also about having to choose an identity.
It felt like something positive had come out of sort of terrible history.
Melisa Karakus feels at home in Berlin. Born in Germany to Turkish parents, she grew up with 2 languages and 2 cultures. But when it came to citizenship, as a teenager, she was faced with a choice.
My mum came to me and asked, "So what do you want to be, German or Turkish?" And then it took a little while to figure out what to do.
As a child, Melisa had Turkish citizenship. Later, she chose to apply for a German passport instead. Rules at the time meant she could only have one or the other.
Having to choose between 2 identities, cultures. We're just talking about a passport, but it was more than that, of course. It's not a nice feeling, but for me it was clear quite quickly. If you were German, or if you were seen as German, it was an advantage. It was like the more you fit in, the better you are.
Today that's changed, Melisa says. She's part of a generation now embracing their mixed identities and creating space for that in German society. She runs a design agency focused on issues around diversity. Its name, Renk, means colour in Turkish. And she publishes a magazine exploring German-Turkish culture.
I created this image for myself where I'm not sitting between 2 chairs, but on a bench I can slide around. And I think that mindset is something that's missing, also in campaigns, on websites, in so many things. So the business really came out of a need.
In Germany today, almost 1/3 of the population have what's known as a migration background, meaning they or at least one of their parents was born without German citizenship. The arrival of guest workers in the mid-1950s marked the beginnings of a more diverse society. The majority were from Turkey, who came under a scheme for temporary workers to help ease labour shortages. Most returned, but many stayed and brought their families to join them. Now, people with Turkish roots make up Germany's largest minority group. Many could benefit from a recent overhaul of the law, easing the path to German citizenship. The change will also make dual citizenship possible for many more people. Previously, it was an exception, like for those from the EU. People like Melisa, who once had to choose between 2 nationalities, will now be able to have both. It's big news for her community, and she wants to share it with Renk's followers.
We're preparing a social media post for our Instagram page. We want to let people know about this new law. And then the post is also about identity and what a passport can mean to people.
The new law allowing dual citizenship is long overdue, Melisa says.
The mindset used to be, okay, you have to make a decision so that you can integrate better and choose to be one thing over the other. I think that was absolutely the wrong strategy. It can only ever be an advantage to have another aspect, another culture, another passport or another language.
That's the reality in Melisa's Berlin neighbourhood.
She says we should come into the supermarket.
This blend of cultures is what she hopes for Germany's future.
I really want this to be something we can take for granted, that we live alongside each other, many different cultures, we're living here together, that that's a good thing, that that's not seen as a struggle or a conflict, but as an asset. An
asset for German society as well as its economy. The country needs more immigration and is desperately trying to attract skilled labour from abroad. And more people are making Germany their long-term home. In 2022, the number of people granted German citizenship hit a 20-year high. More than a quarter of them were Syrians. Many arrived here in 2015 after civil war broke out in their homeland. One of them, Munzer Khatab. Almost 10 years after arriving in Germany as a refugee, he's now a German citizen.
Ich habe wirklich viel dran gearbeitet.
I've worked so hard to do everything you can do in Germany.
Alles zu machen, was man machen kann in Deutschland. Und ganz am Ende des deutschen
And getting the German passport at the end of it, it feels like I've finally made it here.
Geschafft habe, sozusagen Deutscher zu sein.
Munzer fled war in Syria aged 21, along with his older brother. He's built a life here in Berlin, learnt German, and started playing piano. But he hasn't seen the rest of his family for 10 years.
Die konnten nicht nach Europa kommen.
They can't come to Europe. I couldn't travel anywhere else either. You just couldn't do it.
Und deswegen das mit dem deutschen Pass.
But now, my German passport makes it possible. Up to now, I just didn't have the option. So that's why it's really important to have it.
Mega wichtig, das mal zu haben.
A full-time product designer, Munzer is also firmly embedded in Berlin's startup scene. He launched his first startup just a year after coming to Germany, an app to help other refugees navigate the country's notorious bureaucracy. Now that's part of his current venture, a platform supporting fellow migrant entrepreneurs.
Ich glaube daran, dass die neu in Deutschland.
I really believe that newcomers in Germany have a different and unique perspective on the country and its structures.
Also wirklich alles von neuen, frischen Augen auf.
They can look at Germany with fresh eyes and say, this or that's not working. We could improve on this.
Und ich glaube, das
But it's also the job and the responsibility of the German side to accept that, to allow people, migrants, to try out their ideas.
Und die Leuten, die Migranten sozusagen zu erlauben, ihre Ideen einfach rumzuspielen.
Making society better, that's important to Munzer. And his new citizenship also means he now has the right to vote. Back in Syria, Munzer felt politics had nothing to offer him. Here, he wants to make his voice count.
It's part of living and working in Germany. I can take part. I can have a say.
He's already had his first opportunity in a local election at this city hall.
I'm looking forward to the next one, the federal election next year. I'll actually be able to read the campaign posters the parties put up around the city, and they'll have a new meaning for me. I can read them knowing it's also relevant to me. I'm part of it.
Munzer says he'll always have his Syrian identity, but German citizenship means a sense of belonging here too. In a democracy like Germany, citizenship means rights, freedom, protection, as well as responsibilities. Those who become naturalised citizens here have to declare an oath, saying they'll respect and uphold Germany's basic law or constitution. This year marks 75 years since it was adopted in what was then West Germany in May 1949. It's still the basis for unified Germany today. After the Second World War, the Basic Law was designed to prevent the atrocities of the Nazi period from ever happening again. The Nazis stripped Jews and other minorities of their right to full citizenship. During the Holocaust, they and their collaborators murdered 6 million Jews. The effort to remember this dark past still shapes life in Germany today. Memorials like this one are a reminder of those who lost their lives. Pippa Goldschmidt's Jewish grandfather escaped that fate. He fled Nazi Germany and found safety in England, where Pippa grew up. Decades later, she has reclaimed German citizenship. As the descendant of someone persecuted by the Nazis, that's her right under Germany's Basic Law. Now she lives here in Berlin.
So the citizenship for me is, firstly, it's a very practical measure. So it is about the sort of present day. It's about me being German and me being able to sort of come and go where I like in Germany. It's also about the sort of reckoning with the past. It's about the citizenship was offered to me by the German Constitution. So for me, that's why it's such a sort of important symbol to have been able to sort of reclaim my German citizenship that I should have always had.
Pippa, a writer, is soon to publish a book about her story. Today, her translator and publisher is visiting her at home in Berlin.
I've got a couple of things here which I thought we might be interested in, partly because they appear in the book.
Yeah.
So this is his German passport that he used to get into England.
Pippa's grandfather, Ernst Goldschmidt, was stripped of his German citizenship by the Nazis.
So for me, becoming German has been part of learning about my grandfather's life in as much detail as I can, so that his memory gets carried forward. He died in 1963, so I never knew him. He could never have envisaged that I would become German, but it feels like I've made that sort of that sort of family connection with him. And the only way that I can make a connection with him after his death.
As well as her research and writing, Pippa says the culture of remembrance in Germany has helped her bridge the gap between then and now.
I mean, there is always a tension there, and like I say, the fact that German people, by and large, know their history really helps me overcome that tension. They are trying to understand, trying to not forget what happened, and maybe try and learn from the past.
Learning from the past and forging new beginnings. German citizenship, passports and politics, but more than that, people and a place to call home. And with almost 85 million citizens, there's no one way to be German.